Alright, it's October 7th, 2021. I did a lot of courageous work today under this symbolic gesture, I suppose, from some kind paradigm in sealed envelopes and seals of approval and seals that fight. And one little lady that just knows she's in the wrong debris field and in the wrong word cloud. And she belongs somewhere else since the day she was born, but we won't go back that far. Under this, my Google, which is, it's whatever they paint into my whatever, says there's been 46 presidents. 46. Joe Biden being the 46th. Now, quantifiably and qualitatively, there has been, hypothetically, an administration that goes along with each one of those differences in presidency, for which I have no control over. Interestingly enough, this level of 20th century circus has somehow added presidents and vice presidents and CEOs, meaning chief equity officers, with presidents and vice presidents underneath them, in like an endless sea that dilutes the potency of anything that's important, which I think is what the premier level of service was trying to, or echelon of service was trying to get across to the people that are feeling like they're losing their grip on things and powers of persuasion. And they're concerned about the future and how things are being run. I don't disagree. I think in that level of human or humanity, whatever it is. I said earlier today, I told a story about JMG, which are 3 letters in the alphabet, which I'm currently speaking. I have not made it to anybody who knows Alpha Vita. They don't speak it to my heart, my corazón. They don't speak it to my ear or my face. When they do, I listen with joy, but I don't understand a word of it. But it's like music in my ear. And there's symbols. I love symbols. And like when you have a story to tell me about a symbol and how they work together in like that romancing the chalkboard, like Beautiful Mind kind of a way, I am I'm just really at the happiest I've ever been, which is not often. So, that happened. So JMG is my cocoon. Cancun's in there too, but that's for a different purpose. The Mexicans were very kind at once upon a senior frog to send me an overnight guest in college, which I was very happy to receive before the machine turned off and back on again, and it was like that never happened. But you have 46 seated presidents with executive power, and then they have a vice president, and then there's a whole cabinet of variables of potency of choices and how they grew up and what they grew up and who their favorites are and changes in whatever, and then it changes not every 4 to 8 years, and then you get a new admin, but the old admins don't lose their memory, and then that becomes complicated swamp of I don't know what complications, I would say. And then in this North America, United States, we have, I was told, because there was something called an Obama, who doesn't look like which one of these is not like the other. So I got like Maria Mirza's ancestor in the White House. Nobody knows how. There was conflicts of whether he was really an American or North American or Oval Office citizenship. Like that was confusing. He was married to something called a Michelle. Those sound like American names, although I have no way of vetting them and I have no paperwork. Then I hear that one of the news sources say that if you have a seated vice president, the vice president has some kind of like superpower scariness to change the dynamic of something and almost literally overthrow the government while they're there, which is even more scary considering that now, if Joe Biden is president, which I'm going with that as a yes, if I didn't see a ticket or an election day, but if this, I call her camel toe, but if this Camilla thing is really a vice president, then that would mean she has this power to overthrow the United States of America government. That gets really confusing. That was something one of the news sources said. And I'm like sitting here as a sitting duck going, I think I grew a tail. I'm not kidding. I think in the Oort cloud of debris field of things that they throw at my visual cortex, and I have no way of verifying how it ever came about, because they only give me an option to vote once every 4 years. And even that, we don't hear the issues. There's one debate that they put on. So that gets confusing as why are my options getting cut down more and more? And then there's I gotta think about this. And I'm Generation X. I'm also X-Files. I'm UFO NYX NYC. I got a special circumstance thing going on. Oh, JMG. There was a movie called Cocoon, where I think it was Jeff Bridges or someone like that had a boat and it went out, and then like these extraterrestrials, like they're just glowing orb bodies, spiritual realm kind of a thing, came out and met with the humans, and they didn't really have an orifice to speak, but they could communicate telepathically, and it was a really great experience. Right, that's my JMG, and that's actually happened. And that's in 2015 when the last machine, before Trump became president, before the lights went back on and Trump and Hillary were at some duel. That really happened. And I really did, I wanted to leave with JMG. I mean, he's Special Task Force Mark when he has skin on, but I really would have preferred to stay in a JMG safety protected feature and not enter World of Hurt, where Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton were going to go at it, and then my life get progressively worse, and I'd have to enter prison and insane asylum conditions and all sorts of things, and then accused of being a drug addict and rehab and all stuff that I'm like, I'm not even on drugs. Like, what's going on from the parental units, Lou and Linda, like they're malfunctioning, like tuning into different radio stations a day, coming out of their mouths with different scenarios, and it's like mental torture on a whole nother scale. And it's biological weaponry. But then I'm like, okay, so now I think at some point Johnny D invited Aunt and I to something, and there may have been, maybe it was 50 cents. He said he was 50 cents. I didn't know what 50 cents looked like because I only heard him on the radio. I'm like, I think I like your music on the radio. I think I've heard you before. I was like, but your full name, Curtis Jackson, does not, I mean, it sounds like I should know it, but I don't know why I should know it. But the 50 cent thing, it sounds like 50 states. And if we're talking like presidential stuff, that would make sense. I was like, but again, 50 cents. But it was confusing that night. And I'm like, so then he was like, well, if I told you about music, but you're the airwave. And I'm like, right, got it, airwave. Oh, airwave, Air Force One. That's interesting. So now if you've got music down and you're all that's syndicated on my New York radio, I don't know why, except for some love song station and from Connecticut I listen to called 99.9 Star. What's going on with, like, yeah, Anthony would be a tail. how did I grow a tail? He's like, that I can't tell you. He's like, but that's what they're looking into. I'm like, all right. How long does this take? Right, so I grew a tail named Jason Peter Romer, 1976. I don't know how. And I grew a tail named Anthony Tiafrio, 1975. I don't know how. And my life has progressively gotten worse when I was supposed to be happily ever after with Nicholas first. And then he's got a couple of work names, or work through names, to figure out why I grew two tails instead of just one. But then if you want to add in there Mirza as a tail, and some of the other characters at my elementary schools, Oliver and Corey being two tails of different whatever, and then I had whatever in Cold Spring Harbor. I mean, it's been a life of being tailed by humans I didn't ask for, I don't really appreciate or like, or want to be around, stuck in the worst echelon of human ever, and not really knowing why. So that gets confusing, because how many Air Force level presidential administrations of number 46 plus however many friends plus wives plus kids plus all their favorite sports and business ideas and colleagues and everything, when does anybody ever think about me being crushed underneath all of their somebody specialness in this theology or anthology of something called the United States of America? It seems like when the lights go out and we go back to COCOON, where there's no more skin and there's no more earth and there's no more debris field and there's no more ort and there's no more anything to worry about, we're able to live very peacefully. It's when the lights come on and human skins start talking and it's like an animated show or sitcom I didn't sign up for, and then I have to live this endlessly like Groundhog's Day, that it becomes a problem. I'm star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. This is Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361, and it's October 7th, 2021. And it is really confusing on what they're presenting on television, since there's no community of humans for me to enter or ask. I have to go by what the groups in the community are saying, or sometimes the newspaper. If I catch a look, I'm like, oh right, that's the photo that they're saying is Trump, or that's the photo they're saying is Biden. But they usually only show a photo of the president. They rarely show anything about a vice president. I don't know what a vice president does. The humans have not made this clear from my beginning of arrival until now, and Lou and Linda are not very helpful. If I told them that I grew a tail and that's how I got Jason and Anthony, they would have no idea what that means. So I don't know how to state that more clearly, that if that's the TAIL or TALE, that makes everything magically go back to like Mark can come and like we could go back to happily safe, he's somebody special, great, quietly. I would like to do that. But I don't know how to do that in actuality or realistically from this point and this echelon, or this lack of echelon.